Welcome to Texas Abortion Bans, How We Fight Back, the Planned Parenthood Advocates of Texas legal briefing on the latest attack on access to abortion, Senate Bill 8. I'm your host, Ashley Chang, the co-founder of Rouser and co-host of the Texas Politics podcast, The Rabble, where we do our best to leave a trail of cupcake crumbs to the pearly gates of civic engagement. But I won't sugarcoat the state of abortion rights. I was brought here tonight to help guide you through this jam-packed hour of information about exactly what happened this year in the Texas legislature and what is the threat of the day to abortion access known as SB 8. By the end of tonight, we want you to feel energized and motivated in this work because you know what? Abortion is still legal in Texas, and we'll share with you what you can do to keep it that way. When I asked Planned Parenthood to give me 2 words to describe how we want participants, all of you at home, to feel by the end of the evening, they said, fudge, yeah. Only obviously they didn't say fudge. I don't know who actually talks like that, but look, I have to be honest. I feel scared and angry and overwhelmed about what is happening in Texas right now. So if you feel a little more like fudge, no, then I'm with you. But the good thing is that we're not alone. Right? None of us have to be afraid or angry alone because Planned Parenthood has our backs and our fronts and literally everything in between. That was a vagina joke. Okay, so let's do this. You're about to get an overview of the local and national state of reproductive health care from repo rights and justice experts, abortion champions, and providers to find out what bills actually passed at the Texas legislative session and what do they all mean. What's happening at this special, not special session right now, and what's this about a 6-week abortion ban? And who is getting screwed the most by this law? And not screwed in the good way, screwed in the systemic racism is everywhere kind of way. And how, most importantly, how can we band together to stop these bans? So first up, here to help us all sound smarter about everything Texas legislature and the disaster that is SB 8. Our Planned Parenthood Advocates of Texas's Government Relations Assistant, Ashley Cruz, and Government Relations Manager, Laura Gorski.
Thanks, Ashley. Hi, everyone. My name is Ashley Cruz, and I'm the Government Relations Assistant for Planned Parenthood Advocates of Texas.
And I'm Laura Gorski. I'm the Government Relations Manager at Planned Parenthood Advocates of Texas. Ashley and I want to take some time to talk about what happened during the 87th legislative session and to provide more information on how Senate Bill 8 passed. We also want to share what's happening during the current special session and Governor Abbott's most recent attack on abortion.
So we went into the legislative session knowing that attacking abortion access would be priority for extremist anti-abortion groups and members of the Texas legislature. Honestly, 2021 was one of the worst years for abortion access across the entire country. In Texas, there were more than 50 anti-abortion bills filed during the 87th legislative session. We, along with partners in the Trust Respect Access Coalition, defeated 95% of anti-abortion bills, including the medication abortion ban that Governor Abbott is making a priority during the current special session, a crisis pregnancy center hotline, ending Austin's practical abortion funding support that was put in place after the legislature made it illegal for cities to partner with Planned Parenthood, and many other more bills.
Thanks, Ashley. Unfortunately, 2 very harmful bills did pass and were signed into law by the governor. One of them was signed yesterday. It's HB 1280, which is a trigger ban. And this would ban abortion in Texas if parts or all of Roe v. Wade is overturned by the Supreme Court.
And this is important because the Supreme Court is about to hear a direct challenge to Roe with the upcoming Dobbs versus Jackson's Women's Health. That case will be heard by the Supreme Court this fall, and we can get a ruling as soon as spring of 2022.
Exactly. The other law that passed is SB 8, which is why we're here. SB 8 is a 6-week abortion ban that includes a private cause of action. That private cause of action means that anyone in Texas or throughout the entire country can sue an abortion provider or someone who aids and abets an abortion after 6 weeks.
This means that doctors, nurses, healthcare workers are at risk of being sued by any anti-abortion vigilante.
Not only just healthcare workers, but family and friends of the person seeking abortion can all be sued by private citizens throughout the entire country. We want to thank all of the Planned Parenthood champions in the Texas House and Senate who opposed both SB 8 and HB 1280 from passing. We especially want to thank the members of the Women's Health Caucus who stood at the front and back mic to speak about the damage that SB 8 would have on Texans seeking abortion.
This is why Planned Parenthood and other groups filed the lawsuit to stop this bill that not only bans abortion at 6 weeks before most people know they're pregnant, but also to stop this bill that allows anti-abortion bounty hunters from suing people who are trying to help their loved ones access healthcare.
During the special session, we are also fighting against a medication abortion ban. SB 4 passed the Senate and would ban medication abortion in the first trimester at 49 days, which is just 7 weeks.
Medication abortion is the most common method of abortion in Texas and is one of the safest and simplest practices that modern medicine has to offer. Senate Bill 4 will punish doctors for following decades worth of research and offering evidence-based care. Violation of this bill would be a state jail felony.
Governor Abbott added this bill to the call for special session. It's because Governor Abbott knows that SB 8, the 6-week ban, is unconstitutional, which is why he's looking for more ways to ban abortion. The Texas House Democrats who fled the state and broke quorum are not only stopping a terrible anti-voting bill from passing, but they're also stopping another abortion ban from becoming a law.
The intent of this bill and of every other medically unnecessary restriction on abortion is to make the process of receiving care unnecessarily long, expensive, full of obstacles, and uncomfortable. Just like the voting bill, abortion bans fall the hardest on people of color, people who live in rural areas, and working Texans struggling to make ends meet to provide for their families. The fight against this medication abortion ban is far from over. Keep an eye out on Planned Parenthood's social media for updates on how we can fight back against this bill.
Thanks, y'all. Wow, that was a terribly great recap. And this whole, I can't even believe we're talking about bounty hunters here. This whole abortion bounty hunter thing sounds like the least fun Netflix series I have ever heard of. So let's mix things up a little bit and hear from some real life heroes instead. In a moment, Rachel Sussman, the VP of State Policy and State Advocacy at Planned Parenthood Federation of America, will give us a national perspective and a legal explainer. But first, I'd like to introduce warrior for women's rights, breaker of quorums, mother of justice, streaming in from DC as she saves us from this voter suppression session, the one and only Representative Donna Howard.
Hi, my name is Donna Howard, and I represent House District 48 in Austin, Texas. Since 2006, I've represented House District 48. And I've seen the Texas legislature introduce countless pieces of legislation that attack a woman's human right to choose what is best for her body. But I have never seen a bill that is as extreme as Senate Bill 8. Senate Bill 8, known as the Forced Pregnancy Act, bans an abortion once cardiac motion can be detected. This translates to a 6-week ban on abortion, 4 weeks after conception, which is before many people even realize they are pregnant. It also does not provide for an exception in the case of rape or incest. But obstructing a person's constitutional right to an abortion was not enough for the Republican-controlled legislature. This bill goes further and imposes a civil cause of action on doctors who are simply doing their job. Senate Bill 8 allows anyone from anywhere to sue a doctor for performing an abortion, allowing physicians to be the subject of frivolous lawsuits simply for upholding their oath to provide medical care. And if that wasn't enough, the civil cause of action extends to anyone who aids or abets an abortion or even intends to aid or abet an abortion. So who is allowed to sue, and why would they? Senate Bill 8 allows anyone from anywhere to sue. That's right, anyone who thinks the abortion may have been performed outside of the 6 weeks can sue. And despite what you may hear, this means a rapist or abuser is allowed to sue under the civil cause of action. Whether you choose to sue for ideological or sensationalistic reasons, there's also unlimited amounts of money allowed to be awarded. So once again, we must turn to our courts to correct the wrongs of the legislature. I want to thank Planned Parenthood, the ACLU, and other stakeholders for their recent lawsuit. This lawsuit not only seeks to once again ask the courts to protect our right to safe abortion care, this lawsuit will hopefully put an end to the GOP's attempt to cruelly punish women and the people who help them for exercising their right to choose.
Thank you, Representative Howard. Again, my name is Rachel Sussman, and I'm the Vice President of State Policy and Advocacy at Planned Parenthood Federation of America. Before I dive into Senate Bill 8, I did want to name more broadly how significant this moment in time is for access to abortion in this country. More laws restricting access to abortion were enacted this past year than any other year since Roe. 2021 is the worst year for abortion restrictions in recent history. We saw 500 plus abortion restrictions introduced this year alone. 90 of those were enacted. These bills have had a devastating impact on patients and providers. Today, nearly 90% of American counties are without a single abortion provider, and 27 cities have become abortion deserts because people who live there must travel 100 miles or more to reach a provider. There are 5 states, that's right, 5 states with only one abortion provider in the entire state. It is not a coincidence that we are seeing an unprecedented level of attacks. The shifting court, including the confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett, have spurred an onslaught of anti-abortion activity at the state level. But let me be clear, your abortion is no one's business but your own. Abortion remains legal in Texas and in every state in the country. Your body is your own, your health is your right. Planned Parenthood is here for you and doing everything we can to ensure you get the care you need and deserve today and in the future. That is why Planned Parenthood, along with our partners at the Center for Reproductive Rights, the National ACLU, the ACLU of Texas, and the Lawyering Project, filed a lawsuit to stop Senate Bill 8 on behalf of Texas abortion providers, led by Whole Women's Health, along with several abortion funds, practical support networks, doctors, health center staff, and clergy members. We are asking the court to block the law before it is scheduled to take effect on September 1st. Let's talk a little bit about Senate Bill 8. Senate Bill 8 is extreme. This law encourages anyone, including anti-abortion protesters, to enforce the ban on abortion by suing abortion providers and anyone who helps a person obtain an abortion after 6 weeks of pregnancy. This is before most people even know that they are pregnant. This law is a blatant unconstitutional attack on the abortion rights of Texans. But the law goes further. Unlike bans in other states, which are directly enforced by state officials, Senate Bill 8 gives the general public unprecedented authority to enforce the ban. It allows anyone, like I was talking about before, anyone, including anti-abortion protesters who have no connection to the patient, to act as bounty hunters and to take doctors, health centers, and anyone who helps another person access abortion to court and collect $10,000 from each person who performed or assisted with each abortion. This is crazy. The law is designed to intimidate physicians and other clinic staff out of providing abortion care. By continuing to provide abortion care, they would face ruinous financial penalties, legal costs, and court orders shutting their doors. It allows anyone who disapproves of your abortion, a neighbor, a distant relative, an abusive partner, or even a stranger, to obtain a court order stopping your abortion and ordering the health center to shut down abortion services. Plain and simple. This law is an attempt to force all health centers that provide abortions in Texas to close by saddling them with lawsuits that consume their time and resources. Texas is trying to evade judicial scrutiny and accountability in the courts by encouraging private citizens to do their dirty work for them. Now is our time to act. We must be bold and stand strong against this full-scale assault on patients, their healthcare providers.
Whenever you're ready.
And we know who will be most impacted by this law. The ban will harm people of color, people with low incomes, and those living in rural areas the most. People struggling to make ends meet are often forced to delay accessing abortion services because they need time to secure the funds. They are also less able to travel out of state to get the care they need. In Texas, due to decades of racist economic policies, the poverty rate for Black women and Latinas is disproportionately high, meaning they will be most impacted by this ban. The poverty rate among Black women in Texas is 19% and is 20% for Latinas. In Texas, 37% of female-headed households live in poverty. Texas prohibits coverage of abortion through its Medicaid program and through nearly all private insurance. And Senate Bill 8 bans anyone, from abortion funds to family members, from paying an abortion provider for a patient's care. The disparities in healthcare access have been laid bare by the COVID-19 pandemic, which has most impacted communities of color. Sorry, I gotta do this one again. Texas politicians have done nothing to address the state's high poverty rate, disparate impacts of COVID-19, and the state's high maternal mortality rate, which is especially high for patients of color. Instead, they are spending their time restricting patients' access to the care they need. They are spending their time banning abortion. So now is our time to stand up and fight back. Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel. All right, so how will you stand up and fight back today? Not Rachel, but you. You listening at home, listening to me in the background, making dinner, playing with your cat, whatever. And that's what we're gonna find out together tonight. As a social worker and a communicator and a podcaster, I think storytelling is the most compelling way to make change. And there is something so brave and beautiful about letting ourselves be seen as unapologetic abortion advocates in our own words. And in Audre Lorde's words, the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. And when not only racism, but shame is the currency of the patriarchy, we fight back with radical acceptance and compassion instead. And I know that sounds cheesy, but I really, really do believe that. And in Brene Brown's words, she talks about how if we can share our story with someone who responds with empathy and understanding, then shame can't survive. So thank you to our next speakers, Planned Parenthood volunteer and former patient Joanna Calderon, Planned Parenthood Gulf Coast Dr. Babak Kumar, and Frontera Fund's Eileen Garza. There is power in all three of these stories you're about to hear next. Their stories, their work, their pride are dismantling the impact of these dangerous bills. So please join me in welcoming in the chat. Let's kick it off first with Joanna Calderon.
Hi, my name is Joanna. My pronouns are she, her, ella, and I'm from the DFW area. I'm a former patient and current volunteer of Planned Parenthood. My parents immigrated from Mexico before I was born in order to provide my younger brother and I a better future. I grew up in a traditional household and the idea of birth control and abortion was taboo. My mother warned me against birth control because she thought it caused infertility. Before I got pregnant, I had tried taking the pill, but I was inconsistent in using it and had to hide the fact that I was taking it from my family. I found that I was pregnant in the early fall of 2017. I was 22 and still going to school to receive my Associates of Art degree. When I found out I was pregnant, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew that Planned Parenthood offers abortion services without judgment. Luckily, the Planned Parenthood near my home offered abortion consultation services. It said online that you should be at least 5 weeks pregnant because of the ultrasound requirements. I had no idea how far along I was. I knew that Texas had strict laws when it came to abortion later in pregnancy, and I didn't want to drag out the situation any longer than I needed to. So I scheduled the earliest consultation appointment I could on October 2nd when I learned I was pregnant. When I arrived at Planned Parenthood, I filled out all the required information and spoke to a counselor to make sure I was doing this on my own accord. I took a urine test to make sure I was pregnant and it came out positive. To confirm, I had to come back and take a blood test. At the time, I was a part-time teller at Wells Fargo and I had to use my lunch break to go get my blood work done. I didn't want to tell anyone at work about my personal situation because my coworkers were pretty religious and my boss was a part-time pastor. After the doctor confirmed I was pregnant, I was told to return for another ultrasound. The staff at Planned Parenthood informed me that I would not have to pay for another consultation appointment, which I really appreciated because at the time I was only making about $400 biweekly. I received a second ultrasound and the doctor informed me he was required by law to show me the ultrasound. After the ultrasound, I was informed of when I could return for my medication abortion, a 2-pill process. Planned Parenthood referred me to T-Fund in order to receive financial assistance for my abortion. That night at home, I told my mom I was pregnant and had decided to have an abortion. To my surprise, she understood and accepted my decision. I felt so relieved. Although I had told a couple of friends about what I was going through, I still felt I needed my mom. She laid down with me and let me cry in her arms until we fell asleep. I went back to Planned Parenthood on a Thursday to take my first pill. I called into work the following day to take my second pill and returned to work that Saturday. Due to Texas's extremely harsh abortion laws, including multiple ultrasounds and waiting periods, I was not able to have my abortion until October 20th. After my abortion, Planned Parenthood provided me with birth control, and I've been on Nexplanon for the past 3 years. I decided to become a Planned Parenthood volunteer because I was grateful I could receive healthcare in my time of need, without feeling judged or pressured. I want to create an open conversation within the Latinx community about birth control and abortion and address common misconceptions. But most importantly, I want to use my story to help empower others to make the best decisions for themselves and their bodies. But bills such as SB 8 will prevent individuals from receiving care and strip bodily autonomy.
Hi, my name is Aileen, and I am a board member of Frontera Fund, the Rio Grande Valley Sole Abortion Fund. Frontera Fund provides financial and practical support for people from the RGV and those traveling to the Rio Grande Valley seeking abortion care. We also serve callers from Deep South Texas outside of the RGV, from Laredo to Corpus Christi southward. Our community of the Rio Grande Valley and South Texas continues to be one of the most deeply impacted regions in Texas when it comes to abortion restrictions, especially those that would need to be navigated if Senate Bill 8 goes into effect. Not only is abortion care more costly in the RGV, but it is also difficult to obtain because of the many life barriers clients face. We make seeking an abortion in the RGV less difficult by providing financial assistance to pay for the cost of care, and depending on the circumstance, provide assistance for travel. The Rio Grande Valley is over-militarized because of the unique geography of sitting between a border entry and a border checkpoint, which makes traveling by whichever means an intimidating and honestly traumatic experience. We serve a number of individuals with documentation barriers, which would make it difficult to receive the care they deserve because of this harmful law. We are seen as a support in navigating this extensive and unnecessary restrictions that Texas already has in place. The use of our bodies as pawns for political power for more than 6 decades cannot be tolerated. And to think that we and anyone else who has ever helped someone get an abortion in the state of Texas could be sued for simply caring and supporting their decision is truly unfathomable. Frontera Fund will continue to serve anyone, regardless of income, zip code, immigration status, sexual orientation, and gender identity in our community seeking abortion care in every way possible, because we understand how important and how difficult it is to seek an abortion in this state. We are proudly united with other Texas abortion funds to fight back against the unending onslaught of restrictive healthcare bills like Senate Bill 8, because this is a direct attack on us and the community we love and serve.
Thank you for your essential work, Eileen. Now, I want to take a moment to introduce Dr. Kumar. Dr. Bhavik Kumar is a family medicine physician and medical director for primary and trans care at Planned Parenthood Gulf Coast in Houston, Texas. He has also been an abortion provider in Texas since 2015, currently providing with Planned Parenthood Center for Choice, also in Houston. Dr. Kumar is an outspoken advocate for abortion and trans care access in the media and in the courts. He is actually a plaintiff in the lawsuit against Senate Bill 8 on behalf of both himself and his patients, making this, by the way, his 4th lawsuit for abortion rights in Texas. Dr. Kumar, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for that introduction. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Well, I wish we were here to talk about something more pleasant than Senate Bill 8, which is essentially a complete ban on abortion access in Texas. I've been providing abortion care in Texas for over 6 years now, and the onslaught of restrictions on abortion access are not new to me or the staff I work with. We already have a 24-hour mandatory delay that starts from the time that you have your required ultrasound. There's bias counseling regulations, a ban on insurance use, including Medicaid on any abortion, targeted laws for young people, and so much more. But I'll be honest and say that Senate Bill 8 is the most extreme and inhumane law I've seen passed in any state so far. I often remind folks that it's us, physicians, nurses, educators, our call center staff, surgical techs, and our entire care team that become the face of having to enforce these targeted restrictions on abortion access. The politicians who introduce and pass these laws have no idea what our patients tell us. They don't know their names, they don't know their stories, they don't know how desperately people need to not be pregnant. When I was in medical school learning about abortion through Medical Students for Choice, one of the things I understood early on was that when you ban abortion, you don't stop abortions, you just make them less safe, unnecessarily unsafe. This was the whole reason I trained to become an abortion provider and came back to Texas to make sure that people had safe legal access to the care that they needed. And now Greg Abbott wants people to figure out on their own how to access that care and potentially take measures into their own hands because they have no other option. We know that going out of state is simply not an option for everyone. And I'm beyond outraged with a human rights violation that will take place in the name of what extremist politicians call a heartbeat while discounting the fully formed beating hearts of my patients. These politicians are not doctors, they don't have medical training, and they simply should not insert themselves into personal medical decisions, period. And what makes this law the most extreme is politicians have opened the door for literally anyone to enforce the law. Senate Bill 8, rather than being enforced by the state, has instead been given to the people to enforce. As a physician who provides abortion care and trans care in Texas, and someone who is very visible, this is a new level of threat that is almost too heavy to carry. But we won't back down. We will not yield. The faces and the voices of my patients drive me forward to do what I can to make sure this law doesn't go into effect. which is exactly why last week, in collaboration with health centers, abortion funds and practical support orgs, physicians, including myself, clergy, and clinic staff across Texas, we are fighting back against this law that I know will harm so many people. I'm hopeful for relief because my patients' ability to access safe care close to their own communities and my ability to respect my patients' wishes and provide that care all depend on that relief. And while we're all tired of these relentless attacks on people we know and care for directly, no matter what, we will continue to be here for them in any way that we can. We will serve our patients with the dignity and respect that the state denies them. So thank you again for being here this evening. Thank you for your support, and please keep fighting with us. We need every single one of you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of our speakers for sharing your stories with us tonight. And last year, at the start of the pandemic, when abortion access was under attack yet again in Texas, I read the story of one of our next speakers, Diana Limon Mercado. And she taught me that all abortions are necessary abortions and that we can't let politicians politicize our bodies. And now, in the spirit of #FreeBritney and giving people everywhere reproductive choice, and in the great words of Ms. Spears herself, like circa 2004, get up out of your seat. Why don't you do something? We have to band together to stop these abortion bans, each and every one of us. And here to close out this evening and tell us what that something we can do is Planned Parenthood Advocates of Texas Executive Director Diana Limon Mercado and Organizing and Training Manager Barbie Hurtado.
Thank you so much, Ashley. You've been an incredible MC for our rally and briefing this evening. I am definitely fired up and ready to go. Hi to everyone who has tuned in, and thank you to all of our wonderful speakers this evening for sharing their stories. My name is Diana Limon Mercado, and I'm the Executive Director of Planned Parenthood Advocates of Texas. This year, we've seen an unprecedented amount of attacks, not only on reproductive rights and abortion, but on all progressive values and Texans everywhere. The right to vote, affirming the gender and identity of transgender children, acknowledging the role racism has played in our state still today. Each of these issues connects to the principles of reproductive justice. We each deserve to decide if and when to have a family and to do so in safe and sustainable communities. The progressive lawmakers who have fled to Washington, D.C. at great personal and professional risk are courageously opposing these extremist attacks because they know voting rights are key in the fight for everything else we hold dear. That also means reproductive freedom, because voters do have the right to determine who represents them and who will fight for their reproductive autonomy at the Texas Capitol. Please take a moment to sign this thank you card that we're going to drop in the chat to the lawmakers who are holding out for voting rights in DC. Your support means so much to them in this critical moment, so please sign on. While working Texans need expanded access to healthcare and a reliable power grid, Governor Abbott just yesterday signed another abortion ban into law, which would automatically ban abortion if Roe v. Wade was overturned. These attacks are coming from all sides, but I have hope, and that hope is because of all of you that are watching and taking action right now. Last night, thanks to the incredible grassroots organizing efforts of young people in the Rio Grande Valley, we saw a huge victory in Edinburgh, Texas. Because you showed up and made your voice heard, the Edinburgh City Council refused to move an extreme, unconstitutional local abortion ban forward. It is the power of storytelling that moves us forward. We need each and every one of you tonight to share your story, to get the word out, to channel your creative energy, and find a new and innovative ways to connect to each other and to connect your individual story to our greater collective movement. Tomorrow night, our friends at Planned Parenthood Federation of America are hosting a training to share ways you can utilize the power of TikTok to fight for reproductive rights. I don't know about you, but my TikTok right now is just videos of my cat. So I could definitely use it to be more innovative ways to fight back. So I'm looking forward to this training. We're dropping the link in the chat and I hope you'll join us there. At the event, you'll receive the tools you need to continue to fight back against SB 8 and whatever other attempts the opposition throws at us. Always remember that no matter what happens, Planned Parenthood will continue to provide care no matter what and to fight back no matter what. Because when we fight, when we tell our stories, when we build our collective power, we win. And next up, we're going to hear from a person who keeps me so motivated in this fight, our amazing organizing and training manager, Barbie Hurtado.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Diana. Hello, everyone. My name is Barbie. My pronouns are they, them, ella. And like Diana said, I'm the organizing and training manager at Planned Parenthood Advocates of Texas. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. And a special thank you to Ashley Chang for being such an amazing MC. Wow, y'all. We have learned so much in this hour. What sticks with me is this: we will not give up. Abortion is still legal in Texas, and we're gonna fight like hell to keep it that way. Like Rachel said earlier, 2021 is the worst year for abortion restrictions in recent history. But you know what? It can also be the year where we rise up, we fight back, and we block laws like the 6-week ban from going into effect. The year where we come together as repro rights warriors and advocate and refuse to let politicians tell us what to do with our bodies. The attacks are coming from all sides, but we're still here, fighting, existing, resisting, because of supporters like you, who are here in the fight, walking with us, beside us, refusing to give up. And together, I believe that we will win. Now, it wouldn't be a rally without a chant. So I want to ask everyone to join us. So chant with me in front of your computer or in the comments. I'm going to say abortion is, and you reply with essential. Are we ready? Abortion is
Essential.
Con más ganas. One more time. Abortion is
Essential.
Yes. Abortion is
Essential.
Yes. I love to see that power. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Let's do this. Let's fight. Thanks, everyone, and good night.